Please be seated. In the more than 60 years that I have been associated with Shaare Zedek, many changes have occurred. The original Shaare Zedek on Jaffa Road, headed by Dr. Schlesinger, the move to the new building in Bayit Vagan, and the arrival in 1988 of Professor Yonatan Halevy, a very youthful gastroenterologist. Yonatan arrived at our hospital with the 9th and 10th floors totally empty. Generally speaking, a small clinical hospital in a very big building. Over the next 31 years, Yonatan, with his intestinal fortitude, tremendous energy, and above all, great vision for the future, has brought our hospital to heights that most of us never even dared to dream about. This tremendous progress was accomplished because Yonatan was able to create an atmosphere of cooperation with the doctors, the nurses, all of the supporting staff, the unions, and the Israeli government. Today, Shaare Zedek is the largest and fastest growing hospital in Jerusalem. We have 22,000 births a year, 170,000 visits to the ER, and more than 1 million patients are treated each and every year. Yonatan also had the forethought to find a successor in Professor Ofer Marin, who replaced him 3 years ago. Currently, Professor Halevy continues very active in our hospital on a daily basis as president of Shaare Zedek. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce one of my closest friends, Professor Yonatan Halevy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Menno, for your kind introduction, and thank you all for coming here tonight. I want to start my very brief presentation. Please rise for a moment of silence in memory of the victims who were murdered, over 1,400 civilians and soldiers, in the atrocities in Israel. Please be seated. Since the beginning of the atrocities on October 7th, Shaare Zedek received over 200 injured, some of them with severe anxiety problems, which I will allude to later on in a couple of minutes. This number is, of course, a big number for every wounded and for every victim of this war. But for a hospital like Shaare Zedek to receive 200 patients along the first 2 weeks of the war is not a high number. And I would like to bring to your attention that part of the confusion that prevailed on October 7th and even till October 8th is that the first time in the history of Israel, the wounded during the first 48 hours were not distributed as we always do. On a regular war in Israel, and I'm a veteran of, unfortunately, too many wars as a physician, as a commander of a field hospital in the First Lebanese War, usually the Ministry of Health established on the first day of the war a special committee that convenes every morning at 8 o'clock, and representatives in this committee are of every significant healthcare service in Israel. The 4 Kupot Cholim, the sick funds, the large HMOs, the military, of course, the Director General of the Ministry of Health, and the task of this committee is to coordinate the distribution and referral of patients in an even basis that is compatible with the capacity and the abilities of each and every hospital. This did not happen, and Soroka Hospital, the only tertiary care center in the south of Israel, and because during the first 48 hours, the wounded and the injured were evacuated by ambulances, they were evacuated justifiably to the nearest hospital. But that really reached an over-surge capacity, and I will define this term, surge capacity, for a hospital in a minute, for Soroka Hospital. On the third day of the war, things changed. The confusion, like our army, immediately went into action. And needless to say that we are going to win this war, to win it big time. But unfortunately, the price in human lives and the kidnapped is really higher than in every other Israeli war. But since the third day of the war, this committee does its job, and every tertiary care center in Israel is getting in their helipads, once a day, twice a day, their share of the injured. In Shaare Zedek, in our helipad, 1 to 2 helicopters a day land and bring the injured. Being a tertiary care center and a level 1 trauma center, we get very severely wounded. On my way here 72 hours ago, I passed through the intensive care unit and I saw the 4 patients who arrived from the Gaza front few hours before, and they were in terrible situation. 2 of them lost their limbs, and the limbs remained there, and all of them, all the 4 of them, were in a deep state of shock from loss of blood, from loss of fluids. They are all today, unfortunately, the amputations happened in the battlefield, so we cannot bring back the legs, but all the 4 of them were saved, are extubated, are not on a respirator anymore. And this is really thanks to the experience that was accumulated in Shaare Zedek for so many years, being the central hospital located in the center of Jerusalem that is unfortunately a terror-stricken city too frequently. And actually, even today, the source of patients who come to us are mainly from the front, from the Gaza front, but also from terror activities in Judah and South Samaria, many gunshot wounds, more than usual, although the Arab population in Israel, I don't know the exact reasons, probably the activity of the Israeli army, but also out of panic, are more restrained than expected, but still, as you read in the papers, there are many terror activities, and any victim of terror in Jerusalem and in the south part of Judah and Samaria is brought either to Shaare Zedek or to Hadassah. And again, if there are gunshot wounds in the old city of Jerusalem or gun shooting in the old city of Jerusalem or around the walls of the old city, the nearest hospital with a level 1 trauma center is our hospital. And I would like to say a few words about surge capacity because that's where the proceeds of this evening will go to establish an adequate surge capacity for bad times that may come in the future. The definition, the medical definition of surge capacity is how many beds and how many resources will be needed to be added to the hospital, to the regular situation of the hospital in case of massive mass disasters. And really, thanks to careful planning of myself as the CEO of the hospital up till 2019, and more so of my colleague, Ofer Marin, we finished only recently the Helmsley Cancer Center, which is a 6th-floor center, an architectural pearl, by the way. Many of the donors for this center sit in the audience today. and 5 of these floors are underground. Naturally, irradiation center, irradiation for cancer, is usually deep, in deep basement. It has to be heavily shielded. And we left, like the vision of my predecessors, we left one floor, the lowest floor, 5 floors underground, about a 15,000 square feet floor, completely empty. And we are building this floor in order to supply the search capacity for Shaare Zedek, and we already started the work, and we intend to put there 70 beds with respirators, anesthesia machines, for oxygen and vacuum in the walls. It's a $10 million project. We already started it, and I believe that one of the lessons of this war, the Iron Sword War, is that we really have to prepare for mass disasters in every major hospital in Israel. So that's what we do now. The work already started. I visited it just before coming here, and we hope to complete it within few months because there is no time. And unfortunately, we learned recently in a very bitter way that we have to prepare for the future and to increase the search capacity of every hospital in Israel. I would like to conclude my presentation by thanking, first of all of you for supporting Shaare Zedek, being here yesterday and seeing the solidarity demonstrated by 300,000 people at the mall in Washington tells me as an Israeli how grateful we should be to American jury and this time also to the American president, as you all know. I would like to finish by thanking the staff here, the staff of American Friends of Shaare Zedek, headed by Rachel Wolf and Sharon Goldwyn, for preparing this evening despite the harsh circumstances. Thank you very much.